All right, welcome everyone. We're going to talk about maximizing involvement in your student organization. But before we get going, I want to ask you a question. In your perfect world, in your mind, what makes a successful student organization? Maybe you don't feel like you've achieved your definition of success yet, but think about your perfect world. What does that student organization look like? I also want to challenge you to think back to when you first got involved with your student organization. What about that experience made you feel welcome? Or did you even feel welcome walking into that room? Another question you could ask yourself is, was there some individual in that student organization that specifically did something to make you feel welcome? Maybe you have a story of a time that you walked into the meeting, someone did something like said hello, smiled, asked you if you wanted to sit down. Also, you could talk about what motivated you to become involved in the student organization. So you took the step to come, hopefully you felt welcomed, but you also made a choice to do more in your organization. That's why you're sitting around this table now as executive board members. So what made you motivated to do that? Spend some time thinking about that, and then also think about what do you gain from being an active member in the organization? And ask yourselves, is that obvious to all the members that are a part of your group? Hit pause and then talk about that as a group and jot down some notes because we're going to use them later. One thing that many student organizations maybe forget about is to clarify the purpose of their group. So you're a new executive board member, perhaps you have a list of things that previous executive board members did, but do you really understand why you're doing these things and what you're hoping to achieve through all the events, activities, meetings that you hold? And more importantly, maybe think about whether or not everyone in the group is on the same page with what that purpose is. Is that something that you've ever talked about as a group? Maybe yes, but if you haven't, I would definitely recommend trying to get everyone's ideas of what the purpose of your group is and maybe coming to a consensus on what that should be. Talk about also how you can live the purpose of your group. It's great to have some words on a piece of paper that state what your purpose is, but if your events, activities, meetings don't really represent that purpose, there's probably a problem there. And for new students coming in, getting involved in your organization, if they're not clear what your purpose is, it's going to be really difficult to ask them to invest in spending more and more time with that group. So definitely think about the purpose and talk about how you put that purpose in action. Hit pause and then talk about that as a group and jot down some notes because we're going to use them later. Students are really busy and they're very particular, I think, about how they want to spend their time. So help people to understand what's in it for them. Maybe that sounds crass, or maybe they should just be in it just to do it. But people definitely want to know whether or not they're going to get something from involvement in this group. Also, give people real work to do. Sometimes it can be frustrating for new students to join your organization and they feel like they have a lot to contribute, but their contributions are kind of cast aside because maybe the leaders of the group feel like they don't know enough about the activities and the programs and the meetings quite yet. But that's one quick way to lose members. If people are really motivated and want to contribute and you don't give them real meaningful work to do, they're probably not going to continue to be involved in your organization. Make room for flexibility as well. So you might be really dedicated to the specific events and activities that you've historically done, and that's great. And we certainly want to celebrate those traditions. But if there's a new group within your organization that's emerging and they have new ideas, I think not really considering those ideas is probably going to motivate them not to continue being involved in your group. So sometimes things need to change, and with new members coming in that are motivated, you might need to project an openness to changing some of the things that you've historically done. And also honor people's time. As I said earlier, students are really busy these days, and so giving an opportunity for individuals to contribute in meaningful ways without having to spend a tremendous amount of time or making meetings as efficient as possible is one really great way to kind of honor people's time and keep them motivated to continue coming back to your group. Hit pause and then talk about that as a group and jot down some notes because we're going to use them later. Another thing that's critically important for student organizations is to define a direction. We talked before about developing a purpose, and that's really more of a bigger picture kind of sense of what the meaning is behind your group, or what your ultimate vision is of what you want to do. But in order to kind of execute that particular vision, you have to define a particular direction. And we talk a lot about setting goals. We have some resources available in student life to help you determine how to engage your organization in a conversation about goals, and then how you can create action plans to help execute your goals. We have, again, a little format here that you can follow to help kind of give life to your goals. So the goal is really the broad vision of where you want to go. The objective is one specific thing that you need to do to achieve that goal. And there may be a few objectives that you'll have to identify to reach that goal. And then the action steps are the very specific things that need to be done in order to achieve that goal. I think it all makes sense when you visually see it laid out, but it's not enough to just say, this is our goal. You actually have to talk about what steps do you have to take to actually meet that goal. And I think that's another great conversation to have with the full group. Hit pause and then talk about that as a group. Also, critically important is defining your message. When we talked earlier about purpose, that's a critical piece. So when those questions that you answered about how you felt welcomed, what was some things that people did, why did you choose to get involved, I wanted you to write down some answers to those questions, because that's something that could be really helpful in defining what your message is on campus. Especially, what do you hope people will gain from being involved? If you can find a way to hone a message around what people will get and gain through involvement in your organization, I think you'll have a really clear message that'll help people understand why it's important to check out what you have going on. Also critically important is building a team. So how are you going to keep members involved? You can't just have new members wait around until you leave in order to pick up leadership experiences within your group. Maybe some of you have been in this situation where you've achieved this position, you've come into it, and there wasn't really a lot left behind, or you haven't really had a lot of experience making some of your meetings, events, or activities happen. As I said before, it's critical to give them something meaningful to do. So if you can get people involved in the early stages, then hopefully they can grow into leadership positions and have a very clear idea about what's happening within your group. Lastly, just a few things to help remember as you go through this process. Define who you are as a group and let others contribute to that process. Lead the group. Don't order and don't make commands about what you're going to do. Lead them in a discussion. And show members the possibility. Find out what gets them excited about being involved and help capitalize on that energy that new members may have. Keep new members involved in meaningful ways and allow them to contribute to decisions being made. Nobody should have to wait to be a leader on campus. You should be able to join an organization and contribute right away. And in order to help your organization continue to thrive and grow, it's really important for you all as leaders to help cultivate that leadership experience and that investment in your organization from very early on. And define the potential members and what they will get out of involvement in your group. It's important for people to understand and feel like they can gain some valuable skills and experiences through being involved. So help make sure that you're delivering that for them and you're letting people know what they can gain through involvement in your organization. So I want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope it's prompted some examples of questions and processes and things that you can do within your organization to help keep members invested and keep them coming back and making your organization strong for many, many years to come.